So next company to present at HC Capital's Life Science Seminar 2023 is Qlife. And Qlife is today represented by the CFO, Kasper Rosø. Please post your questions in the chat if you have any questions for Kasper. So Kasper, please carry on.
Thank you very much, Claus, and welcome everybody. I've been looking very much forward to this presentation, especially because I normally do our financial reports, and this is actually a first for me where I'm doing a non-financial presentation of the company. So I hope I can do it as well as the financials, but we will move on here. And first, I will give you a short overview of Qlife's history. We have been incorporated in Denmark since 2018 and were IPO'd on First North in Stockholm in March 2020. Just after our IPO, the COVID pandemic started, so we had to focus our strategy on COVID testing to take opportunity of that, benefit from that opportunity, and created a COVID test center that actually enabled professional sports in Denmark to carry on during the pandemic. So we were doing testing both for handball players, the professional soccer league, etc. Then in 2021, we achieved our first CE mark of Ego Q200 version of our device and the COVID-19 test for that device. Then in May 22, we filed patent and announced our Ego Collect, which is a blood to plasma filtration unit that I will talk a little more later in the presentation. And then in February 23, we launched the next version of our Ego device along with a CRP test capsule that is now being sold as research use only and in a wellness category also in Europe. And then in June 23, we launched what we call Ego Innovate that I will talk more about later in the presentation. Then first here a little branding update, or not update, but just clarification. We are today presenting as Qlife, and Qlife is actually the holding company that owns Qlife ApS, our operating company. But the product that we are creating is being marketed under the brand Ego Health. And so just to clarify for everybody, so if you look for more product information, you should be going to the Ego Health website that has all our product information, while Qlife is what we are using for investor communication and stock-related information. Shortly about our vision. So Ego Health is in the market to make clinical grade biomarker data easy and quickly accessible to everybody, basically. And why are we doing that? We're doing that because we see general trends in the healthcare system that more and more are looking for patient-near solutions, and also want to give patients more readily access to data, since patients actually, once they through the internet, can also get a lot of knowledge, and if they have the relevant data, they can take much better care of themselves. And then there is also a demand for quality diagnostics, either at the point of care, which we're seeing now in operation, and ultimately at home. The solutions for at home are up and coming, and we are one of them, but there are a few others also, and it's a strong trend that we're seeing in the industry. So what is our solution then? We have developed what we call the Ego system, and it is a system because it has different components, and there is a collect device that is collecting blood for our first assay, the CRP assay, and is filtrating that so we get an accurately measured amount of plasma in a matter of a minute or so. Then we have a capsule, which is sort of the carries all the chemistry used for the assays that we are running. Then we have the EGO instrument that is basically a heater, a shaker, and a light measuring device at the same time. Then we have EGO Connect, which is an app that runs on a smartphone. That is the way that users operate the EGO instrument and also collect the data that is generated by this instrument. And finally, we have EGO Cloud, which is a cloud-based solution that stores data that is collected, but also enables us to update the instrument with both calibration data for the assays and also with new firmware as new tests gets developed for the system. Key element in our ecosystem is usability. So everything is designed so it can be operated by non-medical trained people, so at home for people without any specific knowledge actually. This system is extremely versatile in the sense that we can actually measure a lot of biomarkers, and here we have listed examples of biomarkers that we believe or see that the system actually can measure based on how they are measured today. And if we then move on to this next slide, we'll see that right now we have the following biomarkers in development. They are at different stages. So the CRP you have to the left is fully developed, but is not CE marked under IVDR. That is still in the pipeline for us to do that. We're working on that. Then vitamin D, HbA1c, and lipids. We have shown that we can actually measure these biomarkers on the system, but we have not yet created the final capsules that should be used for the commercial setting. And I will explain a little more about that later in the presentation also. What we can see is actually that given the regulations that are in place for under IVDR, it is extremely expensive and cumbersome to actually obtain a CE mark for final biomarker on the device. And we have been working on CRP for a while since COVID stopped, and are still in process on that. So so in order to since the real value of our system only comes when we have a full portfolio of tests, we have been launching a new initiative which we call EGO Innovate, and that's what we call an open system solution. And what it does is actually it gives assay developers or assay companies or researchers access to our system. So both the instrument, the capsule that is open, so you can actually put your own chemistry in it, our EGO Lab software that enables you to program how the instrument is operated, and optional also the collect, and finally also the app. We launched this at the AACC in Anaheim in July this year and had very, very good response, both from the press. There's an excellent article that is linked on our webpage on this, and also from customers where we are now in discussions with quite a few on the EGO Innovate approach, and hopefully that will materialize into all orders soon. And what is the EGO Innovate? Then there are 3 phases in this. Phase 1, where basically the customer buys access to the system via the lab app software and a few devices and a few capsules, and then they basically test, as we've done, that the assay that they want to measure in homes actually can run on the device. And for us, we are just selling capsules here and the device. Then once they have satisfied themselves with the results that they get out of the Eco device, they move on to phase 2, where we help them in optimizing the capsule for distribution, basically changing the formulation so it's more robust for transportation and doesn't require refrigeration, for instance. We provide QR codes that enables the device to run from an app, and we port the settings from the lab software onto the iPhone or Android app. And then once that is completed, then the customer is ready to move into phase 3, where they do decentralized clinical studies and ultimately can distribute the tests to their customers to do at home also. This is interesting for us because it liberates us from the obligation of doing the assay development, while we at the same time get to sell all the things that are unique for our platform to a much broader audience. And you can see here, actually, when we look into the revenue streams of this, because then in phase 1, we will be selling Ego instruments, Ego capsules, and Ego Collect, as well as the iLab software license, and potentially also some consulting services. Phase 2, then there will still be more Ego instruments sold, but a capsule volume that will increase, potentially also more of the Ego Collect, and still iLab software licenses, and potentially also consulting services in that. And then when we move on to phase 3, their Ego instruments again are being sold, maybe at higher volume. The number of ticks is sort of indication of the magnitude of the different revenue streams. Then the Ego capsule in significantly higher volumes, Ego Collect, if applicable, also in much higher volumes, and then the Ego app and cloud software will also be sold here in significantly higher volumes also. And the consulting services could also be part of what we get here. So what we see here is basically this is a scheme that enables us to go in market with our new partnering strategy in a very structured way, and will result in the number of assays available on the Ego platform being much broader and higher sooner than we would be able to do at our own efforts through the development. So we are quite happy about this, and also happy with the positive reception that this announcement has had so far from the industry. And with that is basically what I wanted to take you through today.
Thanks a lot, Kasper, for a very good presentation. And for me, some of the slides were actually new, especially the ones about Ego Innovate. Just a quick question on that, Kasper. Is you use different colors on the last chart? Should we put any special attention to that? You have this dark green and light green.
Yes, it was basically to say that the light green ones are optional, while the dark greens are required for the customers to move on in the process.
Good. Thanks a lot, Kasper. Yeah, well, let's back a little down and then focus on your application in the market today, CRP. So you have mentioned several times that you're working on a CE mark, and of course there's some constraints here. How far are you, and what is your plan? Is it 2024, 2025 issue?
The plan is 2024. We have identified, as we also announced earlier, that we will be working with the Nordsjælland Hospital and a research group there in order to do the clinical trials. Of course, and it looks like we will get started on that later this year. But there are quite some trials to be done, some tests to be done in order to have sufficient data to obtain the CE marks. And there are two levels of CE marks. There's a professional use, and then there's a home use CE mark. And the home use is the one where we also see that there is a certain. It's a little unclear exactly what is required since there are none given for this type of devices before. So we are moving into uncharted territory here.
Okay, and that's very interesting, because then you can actually set the standard for,
yes, correctly,
for how you do it. So, and I know you are pretty outsourced business. You run a pretty outsourced business. You came out with an announcement in connection with your Q2 report recently. So all the law stuff and all the heavy stuff, you will source that out to a partner on the CE market. Is that right understood?
Yes, on the other devices, on the other assays here, yes, certainly.
Yeah, good. So you start up with Nordsjælland Hospital to start up a test sometimes in 2024. And then today you're selling the CRP assays in primarily UK and Ireland. Can you elaborate a little on the progress in that respect?
So we have identified distributors in both markets, and they are working on the product and to get it into their portfolio. That is how it is now. So we have sold a few test units so far. They are primarily targeting nutrition and health clinics that are using this the device as part of their consulting with their clients. So private health practitioners. So they see a business case for including the CRP measurements as part of the treatments, but so that work of communicating with them about that is ongoing right now.
Yeah, and just for newcomers to the company, CRP is interesting. Why is it so interesting to start up with CRP?
So CRP is a very broad and general biomarker that it measures inflammation. Sorry, not inflation. That was my economic background that sort of shined through there. No, inflammation, and can be used in a clinical setting for administering antibiotics, and also to measure the progression of arthritis, for instance. But there are also growing evidence that shows that quite a few lifestyle diseases has implications on the low level of systemic inflammation. So not at a level where you would have an inflammation that requires you to take antibiotics, but where you can benefit from having attending an anti-inflammatory diet, for instance, and you certainly will have improved life quality if you lower your systemic inflammation in case that is slightly raised. And these are the type of situations where the health practitioners and dietists are interested in using this the Ego CRP assay.
Thanks a lot, Kasper, for answering that question. And you're welcome to post your questions. So Kasper is ready to answer them if you have any more questions out there. So if not, I could post a question. It's a little different than than the pipeline. But now that you are the CFO, I know I can pose this question just for newcomers. Kasper, you have been through a restructuring, especially of your cost side, to make the company more agile and capture market share and so on and so forth. Can you elaborate a little on when are we going to see all these redundancies and cost measures in place, so it's easier for us to evaluate the future run rate on cost side?
Certainly, yes. So we have basically during COVID we had to build our own manufacturing because there was none available anywhere. So we entered into agreements on a rental agreement with mid-sized manufacturing facilities in Ballerup. Now, with sort of COVID gone and still some time before we have the next product in market, we had no use for these facilities. So we have been terminating the lease agreement for the manufacturing facilities we have here, lab facilities. And we have also significantly reduced the number of staff we have on board. And the lease agreement we will move into a new sublease of part of the facilities here starting 1st of November. So at that time we will have realized the full savings on our rent. It will be down to 10% of what it was before. And in Q4 we will also be down to the new staffing level that is 12 to 15 people. So the run rate late Q4 will be at the new level where we can operate with the products that have been presenting today, and that's where we've actually see a huge benefit in the Ego Innovate, since rather than first of all, it enables us to engage early in commercial transactions with our customers, and it requires much less resource from our side, while at the same time we actually get a chance to introduce our unique technology in all the transactions anyhow. Because if we had to do the assay development ourselves, we would have to buy the assays anyhow from the people that now become our customers. So it basically is it's strong because it allows us to tap into existing distribution networks of our customers to Ego Innovate, and research facilities where they are already in place with what is required to obtain in terms of both staff and facilities to obtain the CE marks. So we can actually concentrate on what we do uniquely to the market, which is the at-home testing technology, while the assay developers can do what they do well, rather than we try to replicate their processes in our organization. So we are quite happy about this new way of going to market.
Thanks a lot, Kasper. And then there's a question coming in here. So with Q4 costs in place, and you're slowly soft launching CRP, you mentioned Ego Innovate and the feedback from the conference this summer. Where do you see the biggest risk so far, Kasper?
For me, the biggest risk is clearly our financing risk. Right now, we have a warrant program that runs in September. If that goes well, then we will be well financed. If that doesn't go well, and right now the stock price is at a level where we cannot bank on significant purchases of warrants under the program, then we will have to do another financing event at the end of the year. So for me, the financing risk in the company is quite significant, but the technology risk is very, very low.
Thanks a lot, Kasper. And with that said, I will really, well, first of all, thanks a lot, Kasper, for a really good presentation. And thanks a lot to the audience for posting some questions to Kasper. And I hope we will be able to present Kasper soon again with an update on the current things in the market. So Kasper, enjoy your day.
Thank you very much, Claus.